What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Shaka Antoine. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 things you should know in order to fish with rigged eels. And this video came about because I had a viewer make the request that I do a video on rigged eels. So shout out to him. I want to thank you for making that suggestion. And folks, that's what it's all about. You make a suggestion. If I can do the video, I am happy to make the video. All right. So before we go any further, just like always, I want to remind you guys to please continue to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, make sure it's on all so that you get notified when I come out with the next video. I greatly appreciate it. All right, getting right into this video. There is a slight disclaimer, and that disclaimer is that I personally and preferably don't fish rigged eels. I do, however, prefer to fish eels, live eels, and eel jigs, which I'll tell you why I fish and I prefer to fish the eel jigs over rigged eels. So basically what I did was I contacted Phill over at Cow Harbor Bait and Tackle, because that is where I got my eel skins from, with the extra eel skins that I needed, in addition to the one that Savannah had caught that summer. I needed some extra ones, so I got them from Cow Harbor. And I remembered that, so I decided to check in with them, and they definitely sell the rigged eels as well. And if you wanted to get them, that I would suggest that would be the place that you get them from. Shout out to Phill over at Cow Harbor for helping me out with this video. Basically what I did was I asked him 5 questions that I felt that I would need to know to make this video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you the question that I asked, and then I'm going to give you the answers that Phill gave me with those questions. All right, so let us get started with the question. Question number 1 that I asked was, how are they fished? Talking about the rigged eels. And the question, Phill answered the question by saying, I fished them low and slow with an occasional twitch. Some guys prefer the roller coaster method, which is basically jigging it up and letting it slowly fall down. Okay, so that's you cast that out, that's a jig up, and you just basically are letting it fall. All right, so the question number 2, how many ounces do they weigh? Which I feel is a very important question. And the answer that Phill gave me was they vary depending upon the size. Smaller ones might be around 3 ounces. This is why I mentioned in another video that you want to have a rod that can at least handle 3 ounces. Not necessarily a lighter rod that can handle up to 3 ounces. Remember, the smaller ones, as Phill said, can be in the 3 ounce range. You can imagine how much the larger ones are going to weigh. All right, so moving along to question number 3. Do you prefer large or small eels to rig? All right, and the answer that Phill gave was, he said, personally, I prefer around 14 to 16 inches. Now that's the length, of course. I've personally, in terms of live eels, or even the rigged eels, the eel jigs, I should say, kind of prefer the thicker eels. Not necessarily, I don't like the smaller ones, the shorter ones. So yeah. Now question number 4, what size hook do you use? And now his answer was 8-aught. 8-aught I think is a really good size to use, definitely. So the 5th question is, how do you preserve them? This is another big one. All right, so Phil's answer was vacuum sealed is the best way to go. Some guys sprinkle salt on them and put them in a Ziploc bag with most of the air pushed out and freeze them. Phill says, personally, at the end of the night, I put them in a Ziploc with no salt and throw it in the freezer. Very important process there. At this time, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why I particularly don't fish with rigged eels. You know, some time ago, I think had to be somewhere close to 2018. You know, I was looking into it because my buddy Joe at the time, he was fishing them, and he obviously got them from Cal Harbor as well. And, you know, I was doing some research, maybe even prior to then, which was through reading some books about how different people rig eels. And I actually watched quite a few videos. And I basically determined that that's not really for me. I know what I'm capable of. And I didn't want to go through the process of rigging it. I mean, I know they do it. You stick like a through wire type setup through the eel, and you rig up the hooks and you tie them. I just, you know, using Dacron, I just wasn't into that kind of thing. And quite frankly, I still am not. If I wanted to fish rig eels, I'll get them from Cal Harbor. The second reason is storing and preserving them. You know, having to have them be placed in my freezer. It would take up space in my fridge, and my wife wasn't too happy about that. Even when I was fishing the eel jigs, that's what I would do. I would put them in some Ziploc bags, throw them in the freezer. But I forgot to mention that to my wife. And oh my gosh, yeah, you can imagine how that conversation went. The third reason why I don't particularly fish rigged eels is because the orientation of the hooks. Now, the hooks are predominantly facing down, not up, but down. And you know, that demonstration of how most people fish them, well, not most, but some people, as Phill say, but that roller coaster effect with letting them, you know, get down or fishing them low and slow. I don't know, man. Like I would imagine that I would be snaggy. I would prefer the hooks to be facing up. I'm not sure if the hooks facing up would affect how they swim, but that deterred me. It was enough. Those three reasons right there was enough to deter me. Now, as I stated in the beginning of the video, I fish eel jigs, not rigged eels. Live eels as well, but you know, and I mostly fish it on the canal. I have fished it in other places, but I found out about eel jigs through fishing them on the canal, using Joe Bag's eel jigs. I like his eel jig hook. They have this really nice like 2-barb setup, so you can actually feel it pretty good once you and rigging them was completely simple. It's no different than like using how you would rig a mega shag on a jig head. You just put it in the eel's mouth, which, you know, and you feed it through the body, stick it up through the skin, and then you where the jig head meets the lead there's like 2 barbs there wherein you put zip ties. You're not have to tie in no knots. You put zip ties on its lips on one barb, and on the second barb you put another zip tie. Tie it to cinch it down real tight, and that thing looks really natural. I'll put a picture up. The thing looks really natural. I've done actually very well on it. In fact, one of my first really good canal fish was caught on an eel jig. My first cast with the thing. You know, so I know they work. As I remember Joe had mentioned to me, Joe Bags, he said, I'm telling you, once you put these things in front of a bass, they'll go after it. And that was proof of it. First cast. So I was hooked on fishing eel jigs over rigged eels because of the simplicity of it, and being able to store it in my freezer when I was fishing them. You know, I like to have my gear with me. I can't carry eels or eel jigs with me too much. At the end of the night, they have to come out the car. So real quick, this is just a very short demonstration of how I prefer to fish the eel jigs. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have always gotten my hits on an eel jig on the fall. So I typically will fish them wherein I know that there's a drop coming up, because as you know, striped bass, they love to be on the lower portion right after a good drop or in a hole. So, you know, I cast them out, you know, fairly up current, just in case, you know, you never know, there could be some fish in front of the drop or the hole. So I cast it out and I won't retrieve. I'll just be jigging, preferably long sweep so that the current will get it there quick enough. Long sweeps, and then when I know that I'm in that area of the drop off, I will jig up and then dump line until I either know or have an idea of where that drop is. And then I'll tighten it up and do a bounce. If I don't get it hit by then I'll just do the ledge retrieve right back to me. Just in case I went past the drop. Sometimes you can get them that way, but you know, the majority of the hits that I've gotten of fishing the eel jigs was always on the drop. That's why another reason why I believe that Phill was mentioning that that roller coaster method works as well, because if you're jigging up and then you're slowly letting it fall, then that's typically when stripers are going to hit that rigged eel and also the eel jigs. Well, all right, well, that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope I've answered your question to that viewer that made this suggestion. Again, you know, like I said, I don't really fish them, but I did want to make a video for you because it was something that at some point I was considering and decided against it. All right, so please, if you would like me to make any types of videos, please suggest that in the comments below. I'll be happy to make the video. All right, so please remember to have a blessed day and peace out.